The Dream 3 podcast, episode 27. We're coming at you with our top 10 wide receivers of all time. But first off, Neil's Los Angeles Rams are the Super Bowl champions.
That's
Neil's
right.
dressed. He's drinking tonight. It's a good night to be a Rams fan. Pretty
I
good
could
game.
celebrate for the
I
next
know
7 months.
after Odell Beckham got hurt, and you texted me that this could be game over for Matt Stafford, but they battled back. Cincinnati's offensive line turned into a bunch of trash cans, and
I think they made I don't want to say they had a great game plan from the beginning. So it's kind of like they gave the one-on-one to Aaron Donald, and then as soon as he made a move, it was usually the center who came in and kind of jolted him back, which I think stunted a little bit of the pass rush. But credit to Sean McVay for making the game plan change to bring that other tackle over the center, basically trying to free up Aaron Donald, and then they started running some stunts too, which I think really just kind of threw the Bengals for a loop, and that's ultimately what led them to a win. So
yeah, and I think especially in the fourth quarter, when Aaron chased down Joe Burrows, pushed him out of bounds, and there was kind of a scuffle on the sidelines. That seemed to really light a fire under Aaron Donald. Not like there already isn't, but it seemed like he took his game and stepped it up just even that much more.
Oh yeah, well, there's one person on offense that you don't ever want to piss off, and that's Tom Brady. And then now that he's gone, the only person you don't want to piss off on defense is Aaron Donald. So I mean, you pissed him off, and he just took his game to a different level.
And even even with Odell Beckham going down with that knee injury, Cooper Kupp really stepped up in the second half and showed why he's the NFL leader and pass catches, yards, touchdowns, Super Bowl MVP, completely deserved. What a great game by him, guy from Eastern Washington University, FCS school. Good step up. I almost threw a bet on him to be the Super Bowl MVP. I think you told me to, or no, you wanted me to put Aaron Donald as the MVP.
Yeah, I said Rams win, Aaron Donald MVP, and I forget what else I said.
So speaking of bets, I had a ton of different parlays going last night.
Yeah.
Not Pat McAfee status. I didn't put 40 grand on the coin toss and opening kickoff, but the biggest one, I think I ended up only winning like $25 last night. I had 15 different bets, a bunch of different parlays, but the parlay that almost hit, I had a $90 bet. It was plus like 2250 odds. And I needed Odell Beckham to score a touchdown anytime. He did. I needed T. Higgins to score a touchdown anytime. He did. I needed Cooper Kupp to score a touchdown anytime. He did. The last one was Joe Mixon. If Joe Mixon would have gotten the end zone, that $90 bet would have been $2,200, something like that. So it was close, but that's
sorry, Caleb. I was rooting against you for that one. So
well, I was hoping they were going to get like some garbage time touchdown or, but whatever, it's part of it.
It is what it is.
So as a Rams fan, that this team was built for this season. They went all in on the chips. Now looking at it post celebration, you're going to lose more than likely Andrew Whitworth to retirement. Possibly
he's going back into retirement.
I mean, Weddle was, he was on the couch anyway. And I think
he was in the basketball court. He was at least staying active.
Judging by that hit and the way that shoulder got braced up, I bet he tore something in his shoulder last night. There was a lot of injuries in that game. I think Weddle's one of them. So Weddle's going back out. Are you going to lose Stafford, or is Aaron Donald decided?
I don't think you lose Stafford. Although if he said, I'm done, I have a Super Bowl, I don't need anything else in my life, I wouldn't be mad at him. I basically said last night, I was like, look, if Aaron Donald retires, if Stafford retires, if Whitworth retires, if Sean McVay says I'm done coaching, I've gone out on top, I would have been like, fine, I'm good
Mhm.
for the next 30 years. I got to witness my team win a Super Bowl, and actually understand.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm fine with it. Although the competitive spirit is I'd love to see Aaron back. I'd love to see Stafford back. I think what Whitworth's done, I think he was staying basically to win because he trusted us to win. And I think he got it. So I expect Sean to stay. Um, but Whitworth, I expect him to be gone. Weddle gone. So it is what it is. But Super Bowl champs, and I get to enjoy that for 7 months.
So I think, especially with Stafford winning last night, that solidifies him as a Hall of Famer
Agreed.
down the road. I think if he didn't win this game, because when you think of Detroit, you think of he's Hall of Very Good. Winning the
Mm-hmm.
Super Bowl, that puts you that's Hall of Fame caliber right there.
Yep.
I don't think he's first ballot, but eventually he does get in
Yeah,
over
yeah. I
his
think.
line of work.
I mean, he's probably along the lines of obviously less than Ben Roethlisberger, but I mean, depending on what he does the rest of his career, he's definitely a Hall of Famer at some point. I mean, you don't get into the Hall of Fame not being a Super Bowl champion, throwing for 50,000 yards. You're gonna make it in.
For sure. For sure.
So I think this guarantees him that. Um, it's great for all the Detroit Lions fans. I'm sure they love seeing that. So
the Detroit Rams
that's
winning the
right.
Super
The Detroit
Detroit
Rams.
Rams winning the Super Bowl.
Yes. Yeah.
So
No, I mean,
let's kind of direct into cards with this. Um, with the Super Bowl, you see a quick spike in a lot of cards. The winners, the Staffords are going to pull up. The Cooper Cups are going to get a bit of a boost. The Aaron Donalds are going to get a bit of boost. You're going to lose a little bit on Joe Burrow. He's going to dip. But you got to realize that the industry as a whole over the next probably 2-3 weeks is going to dip down because there's no more games, and we're going to start looking forward to the 2022 class that's going to be hot. So this is an off season to start to buy now. So if you're big into football, start looking at the players you want to invest into now.
mhm.
So let's start with just the two Super Bowl teams that played yesterday, Neil. Is there anybody that we would really want to take a look at investing in for next season?
Um, well, I mean, regardless, I think Joe Burrow right now has shown that he's probably the number one investment going into the offseason. Now, I do think the card market is matured to the point where there's the years of buying the big dip in the offseason are gone because everybody is buying already for the next season. So I think yes, Joe Burrow may dip 15%, 20%, but it'll be right back to where it's at come week one. I have no doubts. Joe Burrow, if he has an offensive line, the Rams do not win that game, hands
Mm-hmm.
down. Um, but I mean, I think Joe Burrow is the number one investment. I mean, the guy just has this winning genes in him. He just ran into the greatest defensive player of this generation, and he made a heck of a play to save his season. So kudos to
If
Aaron Donald, but Joe
Yeah.
Burrow is the guy.
So with people retiring, so let's say hypothetically, because we don't know, let's say Stafford goes out and retires. Let's say Andrew or Aaron Donald goes out and retires. Does that help or hurt their card market for the short term?
So I don't really know too much about Whitworth. I do know collecting offensive linemen is like a very niche type collection thing. Aaron Donald, I think if he goes out on top, I mean, you're talking about winning the Super Bowl in your last year. Like I'm not saying it's to the equivalent of Tom Brady, but it gives him a little bit of a boost knowing that he's not gonna play ever again.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think he's going to continue to kind of rise over the course of time just because he really is he was that good. Um, but as far as Stafford goes, I think Stafford maybe takes a little bit of a dip, but I mean, he's going to be kind of a collector's player he's going to hold value because he's a Super Bowl champion and a Hall of Famer eventually. But I wouldn't expect anything too crazy. I really think it is for this summer. Joe Burrow is the answer, and I think that will be the hottest ticket in football, which is kind of funny because Mahomes is going to be really down. I mean, Mahomes will be down. Josh Allen will stay high because of what he did, but Mahomes will be down.
So is the smart play to try to find some Mahomes?
He with the thing is with the AFC, like I understand Mahomes has a Super Bowl and an MVP, but like the AFC is stacked with future quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Like you got 4 quarterbacks who could potentially, if they just everything goes normal in their career and they continue to play at their level, you have Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Justin Herbert, who are all going to be Hall of Fame type players if they continue. I'm not saying they will be now or they are now, but if they continue to just keep getting better and we see these duels out of these guys, it'll any year it could be one of those 4 guys. Out of the NFC, it's like, I mean, after Aaron Rodgers is gone, I mean, what do you got, really?
You don't know. Yeah, you don't know where Russell Wilson's going to go yet. He's not going to be in Seattle.
Yeah,
for sure. The rumors with Kyler Murray kind of wanting out. Like, where's he going to go? What's going to happen there? You know, Jimmy Garoppolo is probably going to get traded.
He's not good. But the only player who probably is worth anything in the NFC right now is like a prospect type player is
Trey Lance.
Maybe Justin Fields and Dak Prescott. Like that's what you got.
Yeah. Your NFC quarterback market's going to be kind of tough to play, but I think that you have a good idea. If we're going quarterbacks, you're going to want to stay in the AFC and, you know, the Patrick Mahomes, the Josh Allens, the Lamars, maybe.
There's, I mean, AFC quarterback talent is stacked.
And, you know, still things are still going to shake up this offseason, but for sure. But,
yeah, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. Like at this point, I wouldn't even say like I'm interested in basketball. I'm not. Like I'm not interested for next football season already.
So, and that's a good point. As we stay into cards, like I haven't got that feeling to collect basketball this
in like
season.
A year.
Yeah, like I don't know if it's oversaturation from, you know, the big basketball spike. But I just don't see any unless you're really into LeBron or Kobe or Jordan or, you know, the main guys. But like back to me, what I'm into right now, and we've talked about it lately, is soccer. Like I am deep in some soccer right now.
Yeah, soccer coming up is going to be good. We've talked about this, and I'm sure people have thought about this a long time. It's just like how football is like so much more down, and these other sports are so much more down compared to the basketball market. Is this like? I'm thinking about this theoretically. Is this where football starts to catch up? Because it's the most dominant sport as far as like publicity and what America loves. Like, is this where football starts to take over and starts to drive the card market? I don't know.
I mean, you look at the prices of Brady contender cards. I mean, they're up over $1 million. So there is that opportunity where they can start, you know, turning that corner. The thing that basketball does have over football is the team size is so small, where you think of, you know, the NFL. But like to our point, we've been saying this for years, like everybody banks on the quarterbacks, but nobody gives respect to the wide receivers, running backs. Like, even though the running backs have a very short career, everyone, and Ryan's talked about this, card collector too, is everybody banks on the quarterbacks because they're set to have a longer career almost in general, because you could spend time as a backup for 3-4 years, you know, a running back. might be good for 2 years, but still, like a guy like Larry Fitzgerald, I don't know what his rookie card prices are off the top of my head, but you can't tell me that Larry Fitzgerald rookie cards shouldn't demand top dollar.
Oh, agreed. I mean, you're talking about a top 10 guy all time. Easy. Like without question. Um, yeah, it's a weird time. Like maybe football does drive the market from now on. And maybe that's a good thing, you know? It's the most popular sport in America. Maybe it's what the card market needs to shake things up to drive it further, you know? And maybe that means that position players now start to get the recognition they deserve, and
Mhm.
maybe basketball, you know, starts to be less about hype and more about just winning and doing good things, you know?
Well, you see it a lot with a lot of collectors now is they're kinda done buying the hype and buying more into proven players and GOATs.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
no longer become a fad, it's become
Hmm.
a staple in collecting.
Yep, yep. No, I agreed. Agreed. Yeah, I don't know. I'm excited for next football season to watch the quarterbacks. I'm going to relish for the next 7 months in a Super Bowl, and I already bought all the Super Bowl gear from last night as soon as it was over, and then I'm gonna buy more stuff and more autograph stuff and cherish this moment, and then buy stuff for my son so that way he can have it.
So we're looking for, 7 months for football season. Um, but card collecting technically, not collecting wise, but kind of building your game plan starts with the NFL draft. And we'll be looking at, the players who you'd want to collect. Unfortunately, the card market football wise is driven through the quarterbacks. It's not going to be a very quarterback heavy draft this year. There is one kid out of Liberty who I believe is going to be the top quarterback that he's going to go in the first round, but
Yeah,
you know, quarterbacks are quarterbacks in the card market.
yeah. They'll always demand a premium. I mean, maybe this is where like, and maybe this is because like all the products for Panini are pushed back. Maybe that allows the market to sustain a high because you still have stuff from Trevor Lawrence that isn't out yet, and Mac Jones and Trey Lance and Justin Fields. Like those guys, none of their true like Prism or any of their good stuff is out. So you know, the more you push back those timetables on those products, it makes maybe a little easier for you to sustain some hype for the next season. I don't
Mhm,
know.
mhm, mhm.
Um, we'll see what happens. I'm excited though.
I'm excited. But really, we don't have to wait 7 months for football. We got football coming in 4 months with the USFL coming back.
That's right.
With
That's right.
so I love that the original team names, the original teams, now they're all gonna play in one stadium at the University of Alabama Birmingham, UAB. They're gonna play all their games at UAB this season. But I enjoy, the original jerseys, the original team names. Even though I wasn't born in 84, 85, I loved watching old USFL football clips. Jim Kelly played there, Herschel Walker played there, Steve Young played there. I mean, there was a lot of great players.
Yep.
Reggie White played there.
Yep.
So there was some talent that came out of the USFL. So I always think that it's it's good if you can figure out how to make it work a spring football league to the fall football league almost as a developmental. Everyone trashed NFL Europe, but Adam Vinatieri came out of there. You
Kurt
had guys
Warner.
who needed to figure out the game. Some people don't develop in college. Some people, it takes them a couple more years after that to develop, the body, the mind, and everything that it takes to compete as a professional athlete that you can't do it right off the bat. So
I
I
mean, you
think,
look at Josh Allen. Like Josh
mhm,
Allen really didn't hit his stride until, like, you could argue last year. Like
mhm,
last year was his true step forward, and this year was kind of the same. But like Josh Allen wasn't that in
yeah,
his rookie year or even his second year.
mhm,
You know,
mhm,
so I totally agree. I think there's some players who need time to develop. The NFL is brutal. You know, brutal, and it takes time to like, if you have the talent to be that good, then yeah, you'll play. But if it takes you a couple years, that happens, you know.
And you look at guys who've you don't even have to say excel, but at least have a chance to play in the NFL. A Taylor Heineke,
Hmm.
a PJ Walker, who spent a lot of time as a third string quarterback, goes to the XFL, does pretty well, gets his chance back in the NFL. Guys, the XFL styles, the USFL style spring leagues, like that's needed, like we've said, to develop talent, to just have guys hone their skills. I
Hmm.
don't put the CFL in the same category because to me, it's a different game. I enjoy the CFL. I enjoy watching it, but it's a different style and different brand of game that does not fit NFL players or strategies. And there's just so many different things that I don't translate. Like, you can get some good football players that come from there, but the game's different.
Yeah, yeah.
So
No, it is. It is. It is. Well, all right. Let's hop into the new eBay changes.
dude, so this is why you need to get off of eBay. If you're on eBay right now,
I
start pulling your cards.
Yeah.
Don't sell on eBay because you know you're let's say
I don't.
you're buying you're losing so much of your money in fees to for them to just pay for their website that's making billions of dollars off of us selling cards. You need to go check out, especially our sponsor, Prospect Cards, so you can sell on a third party website. There's plenty of other places where you can sell, but take
My
your stuff off the
slabs,
yeah
Facebook groups, Instagram.
Instagram. Like, get your stuff off of eBay
I would
ASAP.
say the only way is like truly like eBay. Like, if you're willing to put in the time to try and like, I don't know, contact people on eBay and try to get them off eBay, that's your best bet. But I mean, so I'm looking at like, I know it's not much, but at least on sports cards and memorabilia, and it's going up 0.55%, so
Hmm.
a half percent. But what's to say that it's not going to go up higher in by August or September?
But think
You
about
know,
it. Even if you're paying at a half percent more, you're already giving 12 to 13%. You tack
yeah,
on
no,
another
I agree.
yeah,
It's I mean,
tack on another half percent,
yeah,
not including their big thing now is to try to sell you to promote your item. So now you got to take another, thing out.
it's like another. Well, now it's charging you like 30 cents per order plus the value fee. So initial 30 cents per transaction, and then the value fee. And then if you need to promote it, it's another fee, and then another change if you want to put on a subtitle, or
Hmm.
it's too much. It's
I don't
killer.
I don't believe Prospect sends out a 1099 themselves because all the transactions go through PayPal. So PayPal
Yeah, it would be a PayPal
up to
transaction.
a certain point would send out the 1099. That's the way My Slabs works also,
Yep.
because it's all driven through whoever the company that the bank is run through, not
Yes.
the selling platform.
Yes. eBay
eBay's
is the only one that's different because they do their own buying. They do their own
mhm,
transactions
mhm.
with banking. So
So the biggest thing is get your stuff off of eBay, find other places to sell your cards.
yeah,
Your
I know.
your bank account's
So
going to
it
need it.
shows,
And
dude.
it's not even like even with if you want to keep track of your stuff on eBay, it's a terrible place to for them to keep track of all your stuff too. Like I hate it
Yep.
so much, so much.
All right. Hall of Fame. Did you find that picture?
Let me look at it right now. I know that I have it, but
I can't remember.
is anybody else? If anybody else is listening, you can't tell me that this is a Hall of Fame class worthy of anything.
Yeah. I looked at that and I was like, this is trash. Like it's bad. It's really bad. Like the
Now,
people they left off, it just didn't make any sense to me.
did you
Do you
text
have
it
the?
to me
I think I sent you on Instagram.
on my card page?
Yeah.
In the group or but just by itself?
Just I think it's either maybe in the group or it's you.
I think it's in the group. I haven't found it yet.
I'll just find this.
Nope.
Wow. We are really prepared today.
I know. Well, I didn't really think about it until the last second.
I know. All right. Well, let's do this. I will go try and find it, and we'll just start on the top 10. Sound good?
All right, the NFL top 10, your best wide receivers of all time. Remember, this is our list. If you think your list is better, please post it in the comments who you think the greatest wide receivers are of all time. Now, I will say that my list is more predicated on guys who I have watched. So I'm taking, guys like Lance Allsworth, Bullet Bob Hayes, Raymond Berry, even though I love Raymond Berry. Guys who I did not watch back in the 60s, 70s, they're not on my list. What about you?
Who didn't make it?
Well,
I'm gonna be honest. I might be completely biased in this.
So you're saying that Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce are number 1 and number 2 on your list?
No. Biased to the new generation of athletes.
I agree.
So I don't have Lance Allworth. I don't have
yeah.
Hudson. I don't have Don Hudson. I don't have Steve Largent.
Ooh, Steve Largent didn't make your top 10?
No, I think when you put it up against who are you going to take? Marvin Harrison or Steve Largent?
Damn, Marvin.
If you want someone to run,
Steve Largent could catch some balls though.
Okay, that's great. You can catch a ball, but when you look at the talent and the speed and the route running, it's like Chad Ochocinco running a route or Steve Largent running a route. Game's on the line. Who you taking?
Interesting. I like it. All right, let's get right into it. I started last week. I want your number 10 right off the bat.
Okay. So my number 10, sorry, I was looking at stuff too. My number 10, Isaac Bruce. Okay. He's the only Ram on my list. I loved Torrey Holt, but Isaac Bruce was the better wide receiver. 4-time Pro Bowler, Super Bowl champion, 8 1,000-yard seasons, 100-catch season, receiving yards, led the league in receiving yards one time, had 91 touchdowns. Great player when I talk about the greatest show on turf. I mean, Marshall Faulk, all those guys were truly a reason why that team was so good for those few years. And Isaac is a guy who just the longevity of his career playing at the top level. I just thought putting him at number 10 would be a good place for him. I forget where he's at on top receiving yards all time, but I mean he's up there too, so it makes for a good case.
So number 10, Isaac Bruce for you.
Yes.
All right, number 10 on my list. From the Oakland Raiders, Tim Brown. So he played with the Los Angeles Raiders from 1988 to 1994, the Oakland Raiders from 95 to 2003, and the Buccaneers in 2004. Had 14,934 receiving yards, went to 9 Pro Bowls, logged 100 career receiving touchdowns, and is a Hall of Famer. He was a gritty receiver where, he had he could go across the middle, take a hit, still come up with the football. Big receiver. He could run over some linebackers and defensive backs. Just all around tough guy. That's why I have Tim Brown as number 10 on my list.
Yep. No, I think that's a good one. Definitely worthy of a top 10 consideration. Number 9, I kind of put a little spin on this, but I think this is the one guy, if any, who deserves to be on this list. I put Tony Gonzalez on there. And the reason why is being a tight end and doing what he did and dominating at the rate that he did. Yeah, it may be a top 10 wide receivers, but he was as damn good as anybody else on there. So I put Tony Gonzalez on there. 4-time 1,000-yard season, 100 catch seasons, 111 total touchdowns. He also led the league in receptions for a year. 14-time Pro Bowler, 6-time All-Pro. And this is actually kind of interesting. A catch rate of 65.9% was actually the highest of any of the top 10 wide receivers I have on my all-time list. So the top 10 pass catchers, he is the highest in his catch rate percentage. I thought that was a pretty notable statistic.
I mean, when you think of mid-2000s Kansas City Chiefs, can you name me a wide receiver?
No.
I mean, I don't even put like Dante Hall or somebody like that at wide receiver. I mean,
No,
you think of
he's
Tony
a-
Gonzalez.
he was a
Who do you have
returner.
to? Who do you have to cover to shut down the Chiefs in early 2000s, late 90s?
Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez.
Yeah.
And he was still in it. He was
great even in Atlanta.
Atlanta. He still was a threat, and he
Yeah.
moved because he wanted a chance at the playoffs because the Chiefs were awful because he had quarterbacks like Elvis Grbac and he played with Alex Smith also.
Yeah. I think he did early years.
So Tony Gonzalez, it's a flex spot.
No, I don't think he did get Alex Smith.
Who else was
You
there?
have Trent Green.
Trent Green was there.
Green. I don't think he got Alex Smith. I think it was really close in the time frame, but I don't think he did.
Yeah,
It
Trent
was really
Green.
close. I'd have to look. I'd really have to look at that.
So I can respect that, even though he's set as a tight end. You could call it a flex spot. He did more catching. So Dallas Clark is also not on my list. So if same type of dude.
Tony Gonzalez was. I mean, when you talk about probably like head and shoulders, the longevity, the receiving, just the threat down the field, like how could you not put Tony Gonzalez as like the number 1 tight end of all time? And even so, like to consider him like in top 10 pass catchers, I think it's worthy. I'd put him in wide receivers just because I think he's well deserves it.
Mm-hmm.
So Tony Gonzalez.
Tony Gonzalez, number 9 for you. All right, number 9 on my list of the greatest wide receivers of all time. I'm going with Mr. Next Question himself, Terrell Owens. Terrell Owens on the San Francisco 49ers from 96 to 2003, Philadelphia Eagles from 2004 to 5, Dallas Cowboys from 06 to 08, Buffalo Bills in 2009, and the Cincinnati Bengals in 2010. The 6-time Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro 5 times, had 15,934 career receiving yards and 153 career touchdowns. He's a Hall of Famer, completely deserved. There's no one that shows up in bigger games than Terrell Owens. He makes the big catches. As big as he was so fast, was great at route running. His pain endurance was unbelievable. The biggest knock on him was he was a locker room killer, which welcome to the NFL, big time personalities. The Chad Ochocinco's, the Terrell Owens get a bad, but guess what? Football, as much as it's a team game, you're playing an individual spot in the game every single time where you want to make the big time play. You feel confident that, hey, if the ball's in my hands or you throw me the ball, I'm going to catch it and come down with it. You think of the 2 biggest plays that Terrell Owens made was San Francisco 49ers when they beat the Green Bay Packers, where Steve Young launched it through the middle and T.O. caught it and took hits from about 3 different sides. And then I just think about the Super Bowl game playing on a broken leg.
That's amazing.
Amazing toughness. And with your line of work, how hard, playing on a broken femur, that's been, put together with duct tape for the last 3 weeks.
Yeah. It's That's a lot of Toradol. That's all I'm going to say. A lot of
It is.
Toradol.
It is. So number 9 on my list, Terrell Owens. Not a great guy in the locker room, but on the field, is there anybody else you'd want to have?
Yep. All right. Number 8. I had Tim Brown at number 8. I think everything you said about Tim Brown is completely correct. I think if I rank him, it's higher than the previous two guys. But Tim Brown, I mean, was an amazing player, not only for size and speed, but also just being a guy with so much longevity and like dependability. I think I think he's definitely worthy of top 10. And that's why I had him number 8. I think he beats out the first two guys. I did want to note, so he had 9 1,000-yard seasons, 100 touchdowns. But in 1988, he had 2,300 scrimmage yards. I think this was his rookie year.
It was.
It
was.
Yeah, 2,300 scrimmage yards. He had 725 receiving yards, 444 punt return yards, and 1,098 kick return yards. So he topped 2,300 scrimmage yards that year. I think that's amazing. Amazing. To be able, that's like doing everything minus running the ball.
And especially in a age of, when you think of the 80s, there's a lot of great defenses out there. And they're playing bump and run coverage. They're playing press, smash mouth coverage. This isn't the late 2000s type of guys where defenders are not allowed to touch wide receivers. You got to think of the 80s and 90s guys, even the 70s guys. You come across the middle, it's a free shot for a linebacker or a free safety to come take your head off, and there's no penalty. It's not the two-hand touch game that we play today. So, somebody to do that all-around type work, especially in rookie season, is pretty unbelievable.
Yep, for sure. So, number 8, Tim Brown.
All right, number 8 on my list, the only Indianapolis Colt on my list, Marvin Harrison. Played with the Colts from 1996 to 2008, won a Super Bowl with the team. He did not score a touchdown in that game. Reggie Wayne did, but voted to 8 Pro Bowls, first team All-Pro 3 times. He had 14,580 career receiving yards, scored 128 receiving touchdowns. He's number 4 all-time on the receptions list with 1,102. Pro Football Hall of Famer. When I think of Marvin Harrison, I think of big-time speed and a catch radius that was kind of unbelievable. Wasn't long like Calvin Johnson.
Wasn't the biggest guy.
Wasn't the biggest guy, but could beat you with, he had either pure speed.
His tree was unbelievable.
Excellent route running, and his hand-eye coordination with the ball of, as it's tipped, to see it and kind of glide it back to his hands. The biggest thing you can think of, or one of the ones you can think of, is the New England Patriots game. The catch it with one hand as it's tipped, slide your feet, or the Tennessee Titans game where he dives, catches one hand and turns to his back. His body control was unbelievable. In my opinion, he's a bigger threat than Reggie Wayne. Reggie Wayne was a very good possession receiver.
Mm-hmm.
But when I think of the deep ball one-on-one, who's going to win? It's Marvin Harrison.
Yeah. Route tree. When I think of Marvin Harrison, his ability to create separation and get the ball. Now you could knock him for playing with one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time, but you still have to go out there and perform and put in the work. And he's a guy who put in that work to achieve what he did. And that's something that doesn't need to be taken lightly for how talented he was.
And murdered somebody, allegedly.
That's right. There's more evidence against him than there is Ray Lewis.
Here's his son plays at Ohio State.
Yep, he'll be this year.
Yeah, he had a big Rose Bowl game.
Yep,
big.
Yeah, he'll be the focal point next year for sure.
All right, so number 8 on my list, Marvin Harrison.
All right, number 7, Chris Carter, 8-time 1,000-yard receiver, 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All-Pro. 2 times he caught over 100 balls in a season. 1 time he led the league in receiving receptions. 3 times leading the league in touchdowns. Had over 130 touchdowns. When I talk about a little bit about that catch rate, he had a 60% catch rate, which is pretty high compared to some of the other players on my list, but also just kind of in general. Man, what a great talent he was, and just his hands were just massive, like just straight up oven mitts catching a ball. I mean, he was like playing with a Nerf football out there.
Mhm.
I wonder how good he would be if he didn't have his issues off the field. And I think that's a struggle sometimes with some of these players, but man, like the talent he had, he could have been much higher. He could have been better, but I think Chris Carter was really, really, really good player. Really, really, really good player. Top 10 player all time.
So Chris Carter, number 7 on your list. On my list, this might surprise some people being this high, but I'm going to go with Hines Ward.
Okay.
Hines Ward, Pittsburgh Steelers, 1998 to 2011, 2-time Super Bowl champion, 5-time Pro Bowler, finished career with 1,000 receptions for 12,083 yards, 85 touchdowns. Steelers all-time receiving leader. I put Hines Ward this high on the list because he's Mr. Do-It-All. He
Yes.
would block, and not just block, he would knock cats out. He was Steve Smith Sr. before Steve Smith Sr.
Yeah.
So Hines Ward, physical receiver. He's a guy that could play DB or linebacker, but amazing catcher, a guy who you would want to go out and ball with, a guy that you could get behind as a team leader. Still one of the biggest threats on the field, playing at the X or the Y spot. Yeah, whether you're running a toss crack or you're running an inside slant, I think Hines Ward for a lot of those Steelers years was the go-to guy that you had to just completely focus on.
Mm-hmm. For
So
sure.
number 7, Hines Ward on my list.
Yep. I just want to add, I totally forgot to put this in. Chris Carter, 130 touchdowns. 130 touchdowns. I think that goes for like, he's 4th all time in touchdowns for a receiver. So it's a lot of touchdowns. A lot of touchdowns. All right. So I will go at number 6. I have Marvin Harrison at number 6. I might be a little higher on him. I think his talent, because you had Reggie Wayne across from him, sometimes you lose a little bit of that limelight, especially when he went to the Super Bowl and Reggie Wayne caught the touchdown pass. But, I mean, Marvin was kind of, I don't want to say on his last legs, but, I mean,
his career was basically over. I mean, he'd been there since 96.
Yeah.
So he played 3 years. Was it 3 years? 3 years with Jim Harbaugh. But he was also returning punts and kickoffs.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's not a big guy. He's not a big physical guy like most of the rest of these guys on the list are.
Mm-hmm.
But Marvin was his catch radius and his route tree are just phenomenal.
Speed.
Some guy who made it up with just the work that you have to put in to do the job and make sure that you create that separation and get to the ball. Yeah, I think Marvin. I think he was better than the previous 4 guys on the list. I have a lot of respect for Marvin Harrison.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So Marvin Harrison, number 6.
All right, number 6 on my list. Could be higher on a lot of other people's lists. I'm going to go with Larry Fitzgerald. Fitz, obviously, Arizona Cardinal through and through. 234 games, 1,432 receptions, 17,492 yards, 121 TDs. Fitz is the youngest player in NFL history to catch 1,000 passes in a career and second all time in yards and receptions. Like Iron Man, when you think of Larry Fitzgerald, has the catch radius, big hands. I always think of it like the biggest helmet I had ever seen because he was on the cover of NCAA in his Pitt helmet. I was like, man, that Revo, because they were Revo
They were
Revolution.
Revolutions.
They were
the
Revolution,
originals.
but they were the original Revolutions,
Yes.
which were ginormous,
Yes.
like
yes.
great
Massive.
gazoo heads. But guy he didn't care what he did. He just wanted to be on the field, play football, love football.
Underrated pass blocker.
Underrated pass blocker.
Run blocker. Underrated run blocker.
He could make the catch in the slot on the outside, fingertip. He had no problem coming across the middle. He had no problem running a go route. Basically a do-it-all guy.
Yep. Did the dirty work that needed to be done.
Did the dirty work. Never complained.
Nope.
You never really heard of him outside of the game. Like, wasn't a big rah-rah guy, wasn't a big, media guy, but just came in, lunch pail, did his work, and went home.
Yep.
So I'm going Larry Fitz, number 6.
Beautiful. At number 5, I have Terrell Owens. 9 times had 1,000 yards, 6-time Pro Bowler, 5-time All-Pro, 153 touchdowns, which ranks 3rd all time. I led the league in receiving receiving touchdowns 3 times. Probably the one guy who could run his mouth and back it up 100%. And you hated to play against him because he would not shut up. But man, he would just back it up. No question. No question. So, Terrell Owens, toughness, gritty, did the work. Talented. Terrell Owens, number 5.
All right, number 5 on my list. The people, I don't know. We'll see. A lot of people, I think, we're going to have him in the top 3. But he's number 5 on my list. He is a Hall of Famer for the Detroit Lions, Calvin Johnson. Calvin Johnson, number 5 on my list. The Lions from 2007 to 15, 6-time Pro Bowler, first team All-Pro 3 times. Started 130 of 135 games, especially playing for the Lions. That's pretty tough. NFL single season receiving yards record with 1,964 yards in 2012. Third highest receiving yards per game in NFL history with 86.1. Think of Megatron, you think catch radius. You think of a big physical wide receiver that can get the ball at any point, anywhere on the field. The only knock that I have on Calvin, and I don't think that it's his fault, it's ownership fault with the Detroit Lions. Would have loved to see him play a couple more years or get traded to a better team.
Yes.
If he got to play with not saying that Matt Stafford just won the Super Bowl, but if he got to play with a real team, not just a quarterback, like put him on the Packers, put him on the Colts, put him on, Dallas. Like,
yeah.
You could say
in him, he didn't get to play with a great team. Now, after last night, Matthew Stafford's a Hall of Fame quarterback. I don't think he's the excuse. I think Matthew Stafford was the best that he could get. And I mean, Calvin Johnson made it work. Yes, I think it's ownership's fault as to why he's not higher, honestly. And he
No,
smokes a lot of weed. So,
I mean, back then it wasn't. Yeah, back then it was frowned upon. Now, not so much. I mean, he's in
yeah,
that business now and thriving in it. But when he's on the field, like who's gonna stop him? Like, what cornerback wants to go up against this monster with a 40+ inch vertical?
yeah.
He's already 6'5", 6'6". But
So,
when you're playing with a team whose offensive line is literal garbage cans, and you got a quarterback in Matt Stafford who's running for his life and just hurling it, hoping that you're there.
yeah.
But look at the stats. He did as much as he could with what he had. And
Yeah, no, agreed 100%.
and because they won't give him the $1 million that they owe him or the $2 million that they owe him, it's going to burn a bridge. And the Lions organization did that with Barry Sanders also.
Yeah,
So
it's unfortunate. I mean, he really could have gone down. I mean, he probably could have played another 4, 5, 6 years, and
easily.
maybe he put him number 2 all time. But man, yeah, he kind of got screwed by that organization.
So number 5 on my list,
was,
Megatron, Calvin Johnson. Uh-oh, I think I lost Neil. Nope.
I'm back.
You good? I'm
Yeah.
back. All right. Good.
Yeah. Well, I had Calvin at number 4.
Okay.
So we were pretty close. I really think if Calvin just would have had a few more years, that would have catapulted him much further up. But yeah, I mean, super uber talented guy. It's just kind of like I wish I could have saw him play a little more. So I'll leave it at that.
So number 4 for me, he didn't make your list, but I'm going Steve Largent. I think Steve Largent, for the decade that he played in, 76 to 89, besides a Jerry Rice, who had a longer career, plus played in the later 80s, Steve Largent was the best receiver of that era. So even though I didn't get to watch him play live, I've seen so many highlights on Steve Largent, and a guy who would go anywhere to catch the football, take massive shots. So was with the Seahawks from 76 to 89, 7-time Pro Bowler, 3-time first team All-Pro, led the league in receiving yards 2 times, 80s all-decade team, finished his career with 819 receptions, 13,089 receiving yards, and 100 touchdowns. Hall of Famer, but played on some trash Seahawks teams. So I got to give that to him also. He's Calvin Johnson of the 70s and 80s. Like a lot of people have, if you look at other people's lists, they have Steve Largent number 2 all time.
Yeah,
I can't do that because
and this may be me. I can't do. Sometimes like vintage, like to me, like in these older generation guys, like I respect what they've done, but the talent and just the tangibles that like these wide receivers have in today's football in a passing game are just light years ahead of what we saw back then. So that's just me. That's why I don't have him on my list. But that's how I see it. That's just me. But I totally respect what he did in his time period. So he's in the Hall of Fame.
So one of the reasons why I loved so in football, I love the original team logos. I love the original Seahawks logo, the 90s Jets logo, the logos that I grew up watching and seeing before rebranding, et cetera, et cetera. And the person I would look up on Seahawks stuff was Steve Largent, because at that time, he was basically the best player, and he hadn't played in 20 years.
Yeah.
Because the next greatest player on the Seahawks back then was either Ricky Waters or Joey Galloway. but still they had guys like John Kitna throwing the football, and I don't think I could name another. They had Warren Moon for a hot second, but I can't think of anybody else in the Seahawks in the 80s, 90s
No, they were
that was
trash.
yeah. I mean, the biggest thing that they had was Brian Bosworth for a time until Bo Jackson ran him over, and I mean Bosworth has shoulders like me, so he didn't last very long. So for what Steve Largent did in his decade, um, put some respect on his name. That's why I have him number 4 on my list.
Yeah.
I think number 1 and number 2 are going to be the same for us.
Yeah,
I think
we thought
number
that
3 is going to be change.
Yeah, because you already mentioned him. Number 3, all time, Larry Fitzgerald. Now, the reason why I have him number 3, and I jumbled up Calvin Johnson, Terrell, and Larry for a hot second. Larry literally did everything he could for that entire organization. Like, when you talk about Steve Largent playing with nothing, doing everything, that's Larry Fitzgerald of today's generation of football.
Had
And
absolutely nothing.
And a guy who couldn't love golf more than me, Larry's right up there. Like, he was just phenomenal. 500-yard catch season, or 100 catch seasons, 120 touchdowns in the playoffs in his short time in the playoffs, because he never really had a chance, because the best he ever had was a washed up Carson Palmer and the end of Kurt Warner's career. The only player with a 4-game streak of 100 yards and a touchdown in the playoffs. So, interesting stat. 2-time leader in touchdowns, 2 times the leader in receiving or receptions. When I think of Larry Fitzgerald, I think of the guy who just catches 100 balls every year, goes for 1,000 yards, and does everything he can to get 6 wins for the Arizona Cardinals, because that's about the best they could do.
Yeah.
Larry was phenomenal player, and he had hands like pillows.
Yeah.
Like, everything, like, what is it? Didn't he like only drop, like, I don't know, 8 balls in his entire career?
Yeah, he was Mr. Consistency. Because when you think, hey, I'm playing in the NFL, your job is to catch the football. Well, you think of Larry Fitzgerald, and then you think of Darius Hayward-Bay, who couldn't catch anything coming across the middle, or would be wide open streaking down the field and couldn't bring it in. Like, your job is to catch the football, and that's what Larry did.
Jalen Reagor dropped more balls this year than Larry's dropped in his entire career. Like, that's what
Larry did play with Jake the Snake Plummer. Oh man, rough. I remember
rough.
Jake Plummer. He played for the Broncos.
RUFF, rough.
So my number 3, he's earlier on your list. He's high on my list because I watched him play live many, many times. Cris Carter. So I'm going Cris Carter. So the Philadelphia Eagles days, nobody really remembers him on the Eagles, 87 to 89. He had the off the field issues. Him getting was it released or traded? I think it was traded
to Minnesota.
Yeah, that was the best thing for him. It's just like Jerome Bettis. Jerome Bettis getting traded from the Rams was the best thing for him because of his off the field issues. Like we've mentioned, Cris Carter, 13,899 receiving yards, 130 career touchdown catches, 8-time Pro Bowler, 2-time All Pro, 5th all time in receptions. But he's, to me, a better Marvin Harrison. The way he was able to track the ball with his eyes, his hand-eye coordination of the tip ball. To me, he was the best tip ball catcher of all time, whether it coming off the defender or he tips it to himself. He was able to just almost magician the ball wherever he wanted so he could catch it. And to see that with my own eyes, like, stunning. Like, to me, and besides the other 2 guys on this list, the greatest ball catcher of all time to me is Cris Carter.
Yeah. No, yeah. I mean, yeah, I can't argue with it. Realistically, outside of probably 1 and 2, you could probably throw 3 through 8. Probably just toss them in there, and it's probably going to be just fine. I don't think
So,
anybody's going to really argue with it.
so 1 and 2, they got to be the same, and I'm sure they're in the same order.
Yeah. 2, Randy. It's Randy. 6-time Pro Bowler, 4-time All-Pro, 10 1,000-yard seasons, 156 touchdowns. 5 times he led the league in receiving touchdowns. Probably the most talented wide receiver in accordance to like his speed, hands, jump ball, length, all the intangibilities of what you're supposed to have. That was Randy Moss. Most TDs in a season. With the Patriots, he had 23. 10 rookie year. I didn't realize this. In his rookie season, he had 10 40-yard touchdowns.
And he had 17 total touchdowns.
Yeah. Rookie year.
And people forget that he had 15,000 plus receiving yards.
Yeah. And he did it on 200 less the reception. What do you have? 800 and some receptions. So I mean, he was just. I mean, like his average was just his yards per catch average was just through the roof.
So he was with the Vikings from 89 or from 98 to 2004. So he had Dante Culpepper. Was that Dante the entire time?
Or I think so.
And then went to Oakland from 05 to 06. That was probably Rich Gannon years.
No, Rich was right at the early 2000s. I don't think Rich was that good.
Who was a Raiders quarterback in 05?
Jamarcus? When was Jamarcus?
Well, I don't think it was 05, 06.
I don't remember.
Tennessee, I remember him playing with the Titans. It was brief, very brief. It was like middle of the season, late of the season. I don't think it was at the beginning. I don't. The Pats. I honestly don't remember him playing for the 49ers.
I don't either.
But obviously, everybody remembers him playing on the Patriots. He was.
Oh no! He did play for the 49ers. He played when they made that Super Bowl run. He played for them when they made that Super Bowl run.
I just don't remember him on the field.
He wasn't a focal point at that time.
No,
but he still had speed. I think it was that was the Colin Kaepernick. Was it the Colin Kaepernick days?
I don't know. But his breakaway, not even breakaway speed, it was just like he would just stride a little bit harder and just fly past whoever. You know, he had the length, the arm length, the hands, easy to bring it in.
I think he was alleged to run a 4.18 40.
4.18 40. Yeah, I can.
And I think he did that when he was playing for the Pats.
And he had the juice. Like he could be a TO if he wanted to. Like he had those moments.
Yeah.
You know, you had the pulling the pants down celebration,
the mooning, the crowd,
the straight cash homie. But Randy Moss, like you said about TO, he could back it up on the field.
Oh yeah, without a doubt, he did what he wanted on the field.
So number one,
this guy,
the man, Jerry Rice. San Francisco 49ers from 1985 to 2000, the Oakland Raiders from 2001 to 2004, and the Seahawks in 2004. 3-time Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl MVP, voted to 13 Pro Bowls, first team All-Pro 10 times, had 22,895 receiving yards, and scored an NFL record 197 touchdowns, while adding the NFL best 1,549 career receptions. There's nothing Jerry Rice couldn't do.
Jerry Rice. When they talk about like stats that'll never get touched, Tom Brady in 7 Super Bowls, probably in my lifetime, will never get touched. Jerry Rice, in my lifetime, his records will never be touched. There's no longevity to be able to do that anymore. There's no way.
Like there's no longevity. Man. Well, and you got to think about it. Let's. Jerry Rice was from a no-name HBCU college that nobody scouted, nobody knew about. Mississippi Valley State. Wasn't fast 40 time. I think he was like a 4.7 guy. But his route running tree was his greatest route runner of all time.
Yep.
So he takes away the straight line speeds of a Marvin Harrison or Randy Moss and techniques you to death.
Yes.
Which, hey, if it works for people, it works for people. Sometimes.
Well, that's like Michael Thomas 2-3 years ago. Michael Thomas had no speed, but he had a great route tree because he could beat you with his technique. That's Jerry Rice, but Jerry Rice was better by an unquestionable margin than everybody he ever played against.
And he did it in basically 3 different decades.
Yes.
Did the 80s, the 90s, and 2000s. You can't say that he still wasn't dominant when he was playing with the Raiders. The Seahawks, he had his moments, but at least when he was playing with the Raiders, I mean, he was still.
I'm pretty sure didn't he have a 1,000-yard season with the Raiders?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, I mean, it's ridiculous.
Greatest. So we both agree, greatest wide receiver of all time, Jerry Rice. Number 2, Randy Moss. Now, tell everybody about what you just picked up, that Jerry Rice card that you showed real quick.
Yeah, so I found this got posted on eBay, and it was on bids, and I just reached out to the seller before someone put a bid on it, and I'm like, look, dude, it just so happened he lived like on the northeast side of Columbus. So I was like, look, dude, I'll pay you cash. This is what I'll pay you. It's probably the most money you'll see in cash. No, like, there's no shipping, no BS. Like, it's, here you go. And they took it, and I got it. So, yeah, it's, I don't know how good you can see that, but
how about for the people that downloaded the podcast? What is it?
Yeah, so it's got the red numbering, so it's out of 15, but it's got the red numbering, which obviously matches the 49ers red. It's got 2 windows. It's got a 4-color patch on top with white, black, gold, and red. And then on bottom, it's got a 3-color patch with white, gold, and black. Looks like from the numbers on his jersey. So super, super sick card. Like, super sick.
On card auto.
Yeah, on card auto.
Game
worn. Yeah, game worn. It's a 9.5 quad 9.5, BGS 9.5 quad 9.5s, and a 10 auto. So
it's amazing. It's an amazing card. It's a great card to add to the collection.
Yeah. I'd been looking for Jerry Rice, a flawless Jerry Rice, for a long, 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 long time. So
I had at one point, and I'm mad that I got rid of it. I had a Jerry Rice Raiders sticker auto with a piece of the cleat in it.
And you got rid of it.
I got rid of it.
Oh, trials and tribulations of selling too early. That's all right. We've all been there.
Being back in the day, being back in the day of not really understanding the hobby, and now I'm just like, why did I get rid of it?
I know.
Who are some honorable mentions that did not make your list that you thought could possibly make it, just missed out?
Steve Smith
Sr.
Steve Smith Sr.
should be a Hall of Famer.
Should be, and we'll get to that here in a second because I found the ballots. So Steve Smith Sr. You talk about a guy who was completely undersized yet made up for it in every facet of his game, including his mouth. Yeah, he was good. Andre John, and he was playing with nobody. Like his best
nobody on 2 teams.
Yes. I mean, nobody. The other guy, The other two guys who come to mind off the bat were Andre Johnson, played with the
Yep.
Texans.
Yep.
Again, a guy who was physical. Reminds me kind of like a early Julio Jones type player. And then the other one that I was kind of leaning on a little bit was Reggie Wayne. I think he's just right there. It's Marvin Harrison is the better guy. Reggie was great, but it's Marvin. So
guys that I had just on the outside of my list, I'll start with Michael Irvin. So
yeah,
playmaker.
good point.
He was 3-time Super Bowl champion, 5 Pro Bowls, 2 first-team All-Pros, All-Decades team of the 90s, 750 career receptions, 11,904 receiving yards, 65 touchdowns. Another guy that's kind of quiet that I don't see on a lot of people's lists and just probably be in my top 15. Rod Smith from the Denver Broncos.
Yeah.
95 to 2007, 2-time Super Bowl champ, 3-time Pro Bowler, 2-time first team All Pro, 849 receptions, 11,389 receiving yards with 68 tutters.
Yeah.
So those, I don't like, a lot of people are going to say, like, I don't even know a lot of people, but Chad Johnson.
No.
Not even my top 20.
No. I will say this. There's one guy who I think is probably worthy of a top 15 play if only he could get his mind right, and that was Antonio Brown. Antonio Brown put up some freakish numbers.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, let me just give this to you. In 2013 to 2018, he had 6 years where he was over 100 receptions. Led the league in receptions, I think 2 or 3 times. Had over 1,200 yards every year. And he finished his career with 83 touchdowns. I mean, he was, for that stretch, he was the greatest fantasy player. Like, he was number 1 pick for like 6 straight years. Like, he was that good.
Yeah.
He was amazing. Amazing. I wish he could figure out a little bit of the mental things, but man, he even now he's still talented. Even when he played for Tampa Bay, he was super talented. Super talented. I just wish we could see more of him.
So let's get into the Hall of Fame that was announced this past weekend of the guys who made it in and the guys who got snubbed. You and me, and I think a lot of other people are not real excited about this class. There's maybe two people in general about this class that, I honestly care about. One is Dick Vermeil and the other is Tony Bunselli. Everybody else in this class, I personally don't think they're Hall of Famers.
Yeah, okay, so here's the names. Tony Bunselli, Leroy Butler, Sam Mills, Richard Seymour, Bryant Young, Cliff Branch, Art McNally, and Dick Vermeil.
I understand Cliff Branch has been trying to get in for years, but
just because you're trying doesn't mean you're worthy.
Leroy Butler, good, not great. That's my opinion. Good, not great. Sam Mills, underrated, undersized, but there's no way he's better than Zach Thomas.
100%. Agree.
If I'm going undersized linebackers, I'm going Zach Thomas.
Yes. So here's some of the guys who didn't make it. Patrick Willis, Reggie Wayne, DeMarcus Ware, Zach Thomas, Andre Johnson, Torrey Holt, Devin Hester didn't make it. He's the greatest threat in special teams ever, and ever will be. There will never be anybody like him because the game's changed. And then Rondé Barber and Willie Anderson and Jared Allen.
Willie Anderson could wait. Jared Allen could wait.
Yeah, I think Willie's definitely a Hall of Famer. I just think waiting, yes, probably. But
Like you said, I can't believe Devin Hester does not get in right away, because when you think of the Hall of Fame, you think of game changers, people that push the game forward. When you think of kickoff returners, who do you think of? Devin Hester, Dante Hall. That's it.
Yep.
Dante Hall is not a Hall of Famer. Devin Hester is.
Yes. Devin Hester, first ballot, no question. It's a shame that happened. Basically, this Hall of Fame class has turned into a baseball Hall of Fame class where they don't let people in for some stupid reason because they have a grudge that they're holding since 1996, and that's the reason why they don't like this person. Devin Hester. I mean, you could argue like Andre Johnson, Torrey Holt.
So who are
I don't think they're first ballot guys.
No, who are my three linebackers? Patrick Willis, Zach Thomas, and Seymour?
DeMarcus Ware.
DeMarcus Ware. All right, out of those three, if you have to take one, who are you taking?
Zach Thomas.
Zach Thomas?
No question.
I probably would have taken Patrick Willis.
No, Zach Thomas.
Zach Thomas had a longer career and probably statistically better, but I think more of a dominant force is Patrick Willis. He didn't play as long as he probably should have.
Patrick was a more dominant person. Agreed.
It's a toss up for sure, but I
just had a Zach Thomas jersey.
Well, I watched both players play, and when the Colts used to be in the AFC East, play against Zach Thomas twice a year. You know, Zach Thomas, great linebacker, but when I think dominant force, I think more of a Patrick Willis type player. Let's see who we had. Richard Seymour.
He's probably just not maybe first ballot.
No, he can wait eventually.
So like none of the wide, am I right? None of the wide receivers made it?
Correct.
Torrey Holt, Andre Johnson, and Reggie Wayne. And
so
then
this is
technically Devin Hester.
Torrey's been waiting a while.
Yeah.
I think out of those three, I would probably go Torrey Holt, Andre, then Reggie.
Yeah. I mean,
you could flip flop Andre and Reggie, but I think Torrey Holt should go first.
Yes, agreed with that. I think if I were to group those guys, like based on like Hall of Fame wide receiver ranking, they would literally be like right after each other.
Yeah. So, who else are we missing on the list? We didn't talk that I haven't talked about yet.
Bryant Young, did he get in? Did I say him?
I don't think.
Yes, they did.
Yeah,
Bryant
he went
in
for the 49ers. See, I don't remember.
I feel like it was a pity Hall of Fame class, not a worthy Hall of Fame class.
No. Cliff Branch. I mean, what's the rules now? It's like one coach. And they got one of the officials is getting inducted. Dick Vermeil, absolutely, as a coach, deserves to be in the Hall of Fame. Took 3 crappy franchises, took them all to the Super Bowl, and won the Super Bowl.
Yep.
So Dick Vermeil absolutely deserves to be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, I don't question that one.
Cliff Branch, if we're waiting from the 70s to now to put somebody in the Hall of Fame, like, what? How is Cliff Branch not already in?
Yeah. I don't know.
I mean, you don't put people in just to put people in.
I agree.
And we had this discussion. It's sit there and think about it. If you have to think about Hall of Fame or not, you're not a Hall of Famer.
Right.
It's a yes or no answer. It should be instinct. When I think Devin Hester, Hall of Famer.
Yes. I don't think so. When I look at this, Rondé Barber, do you
No.
think Hall of Famer?
And a lot of people were chirping that Rondé should be a Hall of Famer.
I think I align with you. I think Rondé was good, but I don't think he was great.
He's a Hall of Good.
Yes, he's a
Yeah.
he's a Hall of Good player. He is not a Hall of Fame player. Did Mikey just say Hester is a no?
Mikey just said Hester is a no for me.
Can you please block Mikey from this page from now on?
So I'm trying to think of, are you saying if Hester's a no, then does that mean that special teams is not a part of the game?
Yeah, make all the kickers.
Does that mean that Ray Guy's not a Hall of Famer? Does that mean that that Adam Vinatieri is not a Hall of Famer?
Yeah.
That Morton Anderson's not a Hall of Famer?
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. I think if for special teams, like Devin Hester is the other side of the ball of what Adam Vinatieri and Justin Tucker are. Is kickers.
He's somebody who you have to spend a day game planning against one person. You do that with Randy Moss. You do that with Jerry Rice. You do that with big time players. If you're talking about a special teams guy who you have to spend all your time on one guy, that guy's great.
When you have to spend 30 minutes of a practice 3 days a week working on special teams because you know this guy's probably going to house it on you if you don't, that is a Hall of Famer.
So Mikey says if they never put him on the field as a wide receiver, then I'd say yes, but watching him was an embarrassment. So you could say that with half the NFL teams that used to bring in Olympic track and field runners because they were so fast, but here's the problem, they couldn't catch.
Yeah.
But you try him a different spot, doesn't mean you can return a kick. I mean, Mikey says, well, just don't kick to him. Well, the Colts tried to do that in the Super Bowl, and he still caught it in the corner and housed it in the opening kickoff.
The only way you could get around it in today's football is kick it through the end zone. Because if you don't kick it through the end zone, Devin Hester is still going to
running it out.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. Yeah, Mikey, don't agree with you. Boot him. Kick him. He's done.
Done.
Get him out.
He's out of here. He's out of here.
You're out.
So I think that's it for another wonderful podcast. We haven't done it yet, but we got to thank our sponsors like normal. Slab Savers, protectyourslabs.com. Use code DREAM3 to get 10% off your order. Graded Card Solutions, that's gradedship.com. Use code DREAM15 to get 15% off. And just like we're talking, get your stuff off of eBay ASAP. Go to Prospect Cards. That's www.prospect.cards. Use referral code DREAM3 when you register, and you're going to get a 0% seller's fee. You're going to get all your money, not eBay. You're not taking 13% from me. Taking all that money, and I want it. So go to prospect.cards. And finally, Nation Golf Company. If you like the old school golf apparel, especially watching the TPC Scottsdale this past weekend. Holes in one for days, bud. I enjoyed it. Go visit our boys at nationgolfcompany.com. So another wonderful podcast from us. We will probably be back next weekend. I will have a new setup. I got a new computer coming in tomorrow, so I will not have to use this no more. I have a little bit of different setup.
We'll have to come up with a new series.
Yeah, we've done our top 10 list. What do you want to hear? What do you want to see?
Do you want to do defensive players? I feel like that would be really, really tough.
Defensive line, linebackers?
No.
Or just defensive players of all time?
Yeah.
Okay.
If we did that, I feel like our list would be vastly different.
Okay, let's do next one. Top 10 defensive players of all time. This is all defensive players.
All defensive players.
And then just for Mikey Ray, we'll do top 2 kick returners of all time.
Let's do this. Yeah, let's do defensive players. That'd be
Okay.
good.
Top
That'd be
10
good.
defensive players of all time. So until next time, Showtime Sports Cards, that's Doughboy Sports Cards. Follow us on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter, on YouTube. Listen and download it. Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcast. How dare you put Percy Harvin and Deion Sanders in that kick returner list? Percy Harvin still probably has a concussion somewhere where he's seeing 2 or 3 times, and Deion Sanders didn't have enough gas to run.
Percy
both.
still got a migraine.
Yeah,
His brain hurts too much.
Deion Sanders didn't have enough gas. He had to take so many plays off in between doing punts and kickoff returns to play defense. So I don't want to hear that from Coach
my
Prime.
God.
So until next time,
Wait.
we will.
Congrats to my Super Bowl champion.
Congrats to the Los Angeles Rams, who I
That's
said
right.
was going to win 9 or 10 games this year. But joke's on me because the Colts suck and we still have Carson Wentz. So make that trade, Mr. Irsay. I know you're probably going to get like Jimmy Garoppolo or somebody who I'm going to hate just in case. But
hey,
yeah.
you know, Caleb, if you want to be a Rams fan, you can join my team if you would like.
Not a chance. I have season tickets that you beg me for to come to games to anyway, so I will stick with the Colts, even though we suck.
Hey, I will say
I've
did
sat
get
through
to
3
see
and
us
13
this year.
seasons. I've sat through 3 and 13 seasons. I'm fine. I've seen Jim Harbaugh. I've seen the original Peyton Manning.
Hey,
or all these Colts fans are the Colts win 10 games a year. Do you remember Peyton Manning in the late 90s? He was so bad. So bad.
Hey, you know what? I'm just glad I got to see the Rams play this year before they win a Super Bowl. So
you won a Super Bowl, so you can sit on that until next football season. You don't have a first-round pick for like the next 3 years.
Doesn't matter anymore.
You were built to win this year.
I don't care.
We'll see you next year. All right, until next time, we're going to do the top 10 defensive players of all time. So download the podcast. Let us know what you want to listen to.
Yep.
We'll get you some topics. All right, later. We will catch you on the flip side.